Et si je vous disais qu'en un an, j'ai appris le français en m'immergeant totalement dans la langue, sans école ni cours traditionnels? Curieux de savoir comment j'ai fait? Keep watching to find out. So, let me take you through how it all started. About a year ago, I decided to take on the challenge of learning French entirely on my own. I didn't enroll in any traditional language school or formal courses. Instead, I decided to dive into self-learning and fully immerse myself in the language. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined. To help support my schedule, I took a part-time job that only required me to work weekends. This gave me the freedom to dedicate the rest of my time during the week to studying and practicing French. My days would begin with Preply classes in the mornings. I found Preply to be one of the most accessible platforms for connecting with tutors. Most of the tutors I could afford, unfortunately, weren't formally trained in teaching French as a second language. But since they were native French speakers, I was able to get real-world speaking practice. They would correct me when I made mistakes, which helped me improve my speaking skills significantly. Alongside these speaking sessions, I made sure to study grammar and vocabulary during my free time. I would go over textbooks and use resources like YouTube videos and French language blogs to learn the rules and structure of the language. I quickly learned that consistency was key in building a strong foundation. After my morning lessons, I'd dive into a routine of immersion. During breaks, I would watch French movies and TV shows. This was one of my favorite ways to learn. Not only did it help me improve my listening skills, but it also gave me valuable exposure to real conversational French. Plus, watching movies in French helped me see words and phrases in context, which made it easier to retain them. Then, I listened to French music during the day, whether it was pop, jazz, or old French classics. Music made me hear new words and phrases in a relaxed, repetitive way. The rhythm of the songs made it clear to remember the vocabulary. Over time, I started noticing that certain words would just stick in my mind without me even trying. Another key part of my immersion was incorporating French into my daily routines. At the gym, I didn't just listen to random music. I tuned into French personal growth podcasts. I found these podcasts to be a great source of motivation and learning, as they introduced me to new vocabulary related to self-improvement and goal setting. Listening to these podcasts while working out was a great way to maximize my time and keep my mind focused on learning. At night, I'd wind down by reading a French novel. It was challenging at first, but over time, I started understanding more and more. I often found myself going back to reread sections and look up words I didn't understand. I also started journaling in French before bed, which really helped me internalize my vocabulary and grammar. One of the biggest challenges was keeping up with my speaking practice, though. I used apps like italki, HelloTalk, and Preply to find conversation partners. They helped me practice the language in real time and correct any mistakes I made. It was through these conversations that I started to feel more confident in my speaking ability. I also tried using Duolingo and flashcards. While Duolingo helped me practice basic vocabulary and sentence structure, I found that the repetitive nature of flashcards started to become a bit boring after a while. It didn't feel as engaging as watching movies or speaking with native speakers, where I was constantly exposed to new words in context. What really stood out for me, though, was how much I retained from watching movies and listening to podcasts. The context they provided helped me remember vocabulary far better than just memorizing lists. It was as if the language started to flow more naturally into my brain. It didn't feel like forced learning anymore. It just came naturally. As I progressed, my Preply tutors began noticing the improvement in my French. They mentioned that I was making fewer grammatical mistakes and was speaking more fluidly. They also pointed out that I had developed a better understanding of French sentence structure, which I hadn't explicitly studied. This was when I realized that the immersion approach was working for me. Now, would I recommend self-learning? Absolutely. Sometimes you just need to trust the power of your brain to absorb the language. Immersion doesn't require you to have formal lessons every day. Instead, it's about surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible in a way that feels natural and engaging. The way we learn languages as adults can be quite similar to how children do it. Research on language acquisition shows that children learn their first language by being surrounded by it in their environment. They pick it up through repetition repetition and exposure, even before they understand all the rules. Adults can apply the same principles for learning a second language. It's about consistent exposure, real-world practice, and contextual learning. According to Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis, the most effective way to learn a language is by being exposed to content that is just beyond your current level. What he calls it is I+1. This is exactly what happened to me. By watching French movies, listening to podcasts, and speaking with native speakers, I was constantly exposed to language that was just above my level, which allowed me to gradually absorb new vocabulary and grammar. I've learned so much from this year of immersion, and looking back, I can honestly say that less is more. Focusing on immersion, real-life conversations, and context rather than memorizing vocabulary lists was the key to my success. So to anyone out there wondering if they can learn a language on their own, I say yes, you can. Trust your brain, stay consistent, and immerse yourself in the language. Over time, it'll all start to click. Et pour finir, n'aie pas peur de t'immerger totalement dans la langue et crois en ton potentiel. Bonne chance dans ton apprentissage du français. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried self-learning before? Share your experience in the comments below and check out my next video where I share my favorite tools for learning French. Et si tu as aimé cette vidéo, n'oublie pas de liker, commenter et t'abonner pour plus de conseils sur l'apprentissage des langues. Otherwise, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.